Hello everyone and welcome to a new video here on the Giant Take YouTube channel. You see me in this box here. My name is Josh and I'm here to talk about reactions. We're reacting, doing a little bit different today. I'm sure you all want to hear my opinions and my takes all the time on the NFL mock drafts for the New York Giants. Yeah, I know that's absolutely not the case. So what I want to do today is react myself to the draft experts, people that are not me. I'm sure some of you have seen the Giant Take, mock draft 1.0 and mock draft 2.0. But today we want to switch that up a little bit, or I want to switch that up and kind of react to draft experts from 5 different areas and platforms and kind of see what they picked. And, I already know their picks, and you're going to see the similarity of the position group at wide receiver. Okay. I spoiled it a little bit already. Let's go right into it. Probably the 2 guys that are most known are Daniel Jeremiah for NFL.com and Mel Kiper Jr. for ESPN. So those are the 2 that I'm going to start out with. First, let's go with Daniel Jeremiah. What's annoying is that these mock drafts were done mostly in the month of March. I don't think we had any April in here. Maybe they're waiting until like the week before the draft where they release their final mock draft, but that's just a case of what we have for these guys. So let's start out with Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com. On March 19th, he gave the Giants, or picked the Giants, to take Malik Neighbors out of LSU, similar to what we've had already in our drafts. If you remember correctly, in I believe the 1.0 Giant Take mock draft, we had Malik Neighbors. In the 2.0, we had Rome Odunze. Seems like the experts agree with us, at least so far, with Daniel Jeremiah. What Jeremiah has in the rest of his mock draft, and I'll probably project this to you watching right now, is Jaden Daniels goes to the Patriots at number 3, and then back-to-back trades where J.J. McCarthy goes to the Vikings at 4, and Marvin Harrison, the Jets trade up 5 spots to take Marvin Harrison as he goes to the New York Jets, which leaves the Giants with the best wide receiver on the board at that time, being Malik Neighbors. So we move from Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft on the same day as Mel Kiper. Maybe these guys, I assume they communicate about this. Like, okay, March 19th, we're going to, put out our next mock draft so people can look at both of them. I don't know why they release it on the same day besides that point. Anyway, Mel Kiper of ESPN on March 19th said, well, the Giants are also going to take a wide receiver. It's going to be Rome Odunze out of Washington because Malik Neighbors isn't available at that spot. Mel Kiper switches things around, except he really doesn't because he has no trades. He has Marvin Harrison, all 3 top 3 wide receivers going back to back to back, with Marvin Harrison going at 4 to the Cardinals. And then at 5, Malik Neighbors goes to the Chargers, which leaves Rome Odunze right in the hands of the New York Giants. And so far, I talked about I was going to react. So far in Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft and Mel Kiper's mock draft, 2 wide receivers in Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze, 2 wide receivers I would not be upset with whatsoever, because the New York Giants, and we've talked about it obviously on our podcast, they need a wide receiver in this year's NFL draft. And if they don't get that, they need a quarterback with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. They're not going to get the jobs done long term. That's why in our 2.0, we did have Michael Penix going to the Giants after a trade up. We don't know how realistic that's going to be. We don't know if any of those quarterbacks, are going to be available. In Kiper's mock draft, one of them was. I don't know if you're looking for Drake May, a Jaden Daniels, or J.J. McCarthy at 6, especially not J.J. McCarthy. I feel like that's just running the train of a Daniel Jones, not expected to go first round, gets a lot of hype, goes first round to the Giants, and then we kind of just do a spiraling effect. Maybe J.J. McCarthy will be a phenomenal quarterback in the NFL. But at least from what draft projections are assuming, Daniel Jones wasn't that. He was projected a 2nd and 3rd round pick. Giants drafted him in the 1st round. Doesn't work out for them, really. But yeah, these wide receivers are great. They'll be great pairings with the already good wide receivers the Giants have right now, and Jalen Hyatt, who they drafted last year alongside Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson as their top guys. Obviously, no number ones out of that bunch. We thought that's what Jalen Hyatt would be. He didn't really show it in his first year. Could this year? We'll have to wait and see. My 3rd draft expert is Danny Kelly from The Ringer. This one was a little bit later, about 10 days later on March 28th. Kelly announced that the Giants are drafting wide receiver Rome Odunze out of Washington. So there you go. Repetition there. Harrison at 4, Neighbors at 5 to the Cardinals and the Chargers, respectively, just like Mel Kiper said. And then finally, our friend here of the program has been on the podcast a couple of times. Trevor Sikkema at a Pro Football Focus. He released his a day before Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper on March 18th. Got ahead of the game there, ahead of the curve. He decided to select Rome Odunze. So 3 out of the 4 draft experts I selected from the different areas today, or platforms, whatever you want to call it, had Rome Odunze going to the New York Giants. And I don't know what their current thoughts are, because obviously these mock drafts were a month ago. I'm sure we wait a week and we'll get their final mock drafts, I would assume. But Sikkema's is a little bit different leading up to the pick of Rome Odunze. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy also goes to the Vikings at 4. That's a trade there. That's something that Daniel Jeremiah indicated in his mock draft as well. And then he has Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Chargers at 5. Malik Neighbors was still in this draft at this point. I assume Trevor Sikkema, either because he believes the Giants think that Odunze is better, or has some info on, or I guess believes that he's the better player out of Malik Neighbors. Yeah, so that was the one of two things. He either has some insight that maybe the Giants, he thinks, like Rome Odunze better than Neighbors, or he just personally believes that Odunze is better than Neighbors, and that's why he hasn't picked there. So again, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com has the Giants selecting wide receiver Malik Neighbors out of LSU, Mel Kiper of ESPN, Danny Kelly of The Ringer, Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus, all have the Giants drafting Rome Odunze out of Washington. And so do we in our New York Giants mock draft 2.0, which you can check out right here on our YouTube channel. It's, I think, our second to most recent video after this one, as well as podcast platforms. So I guess my final reaction to this is, I don't know who you're going to trust. I mean, these guys get it right 99% of the time, maybe a little less than that, maybe 90%, but I don't know. I would say, I said I was reacting. So again, I'm going to react, and I'm going to say I like all of these picks. I think Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze are great players. I think that they're going to be generational talents at that. I think what Rome Odunze did for this Washington team to help lead them to a national championship at the University of Washington is pretty sensational. Obviously, I know that they had a pretty great roster this year, especially alongside Michael Penix Jr., but also it's the University of Washington. They're not known to be a top 5, top 3, top 1, which they didn't end up being, but top 2 football school in the nation. I know they're a pretty good program, but they're building it up over time. I understand that, but Rome Odunze had a huge part in that. And then Malik Neighbors, again, I know he had Jaden Daniels. Both of those guys had good quarterbacks alongside them, but even on an LSU team that didn't make too much noise this year, for him to put up that absurd amount of numbers is pretty sensational. So with that being said, I appreciate you watching all the way through. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button down below. Hit the subscribe button down below. In the comments, let me know what you think about all these draft experts picking wide receivers in their mock drafts. Do you agree with them? Do you think the Giants will do that? Do you like that the Giants are going to take wide receivers, at least in these mock drafts? Would you rather them take a quarterback or another position? Let me know all of that in the comments below. All right. Hope to have another video out soon. If not, you'll see me next time for another episode of the Giant Take Podcast. Peace.